everyone, welcome back to Frailing It Life with me, Banjo Jen. Hope you're doing okay. I was a little bit bored tonight, so I decided I would do another quick tutorial. Also having a little beer as well, which is called Bingo Night. Tell your friends, it says. Nice can. Anyway, I'm telling you, my YouTube friends, and it's pretty nice actually. But it's not bingo night, it's F chord night, because I thought we'd go through the F chord, because that's a really useful chord that crops up in you know, a few different keys and tunes and songs and stuff, and you can also do quite a cool little bluegrassy sounding thing with it as well, which might be quite cool to have a go at. So you may be familiar with this if you've checked out F chords already, very good. If you're not familiar, I'll just quickly go through where you place your fingers. So index finger is going to go on second string, first fret, as if you were where it would be for a C. Then your middle finger goes on the third string at the second fret. Ring finger comes right across to the bass string on the third fret, and then that leaves your little finger, which is also going to go on that third fret for your first string. Okay, so you've got all four fingers down there. Now that's why the F chord can be, I found it anyway, like pretty much the hardest of the major chords to learn, just because it's you've got to really put all four fingers down. There is a bit of a cheat if you miss out one of the strings, which I'll show you, but the idea is you put all four fingers down, and to grab that at speed at first is really bloody difficult. So don't worry if like there's a bit of a pause when you try and grab that F chord at first. I still find it a little bit hard sometimes, to be honest. But one tune that the F is used in quite a bit is Little Maggie. So I don't know if you're familiar with Little Maggie, but it's kind of a bluegrass classic, bluegrass standard. Yonder stands little Maggie with a dry glass in her hand. She's drinking away her sorrows now, courting another man. Okay, nice little easy sort of melody. It just repeats and repeats and repeats, that sort of pattern. But that's going from like a G to an F chord, okay? And that brings us to another G version, which we've not really covered yet. So every time I've been playing G in any of these tutorials so far, it's been an open G. So that means literally just not putting any fingers on the fret and just leaving the strings open, or, you know, we might have a G7 with the first string on the third fret, but mainly it's just open G. But obviously there's different shapes up and down the neck, as we did mention in one of the previous tutorials, and that F shape is one that can move all the way up the fret. You keep the same shape, but it'll make different chords as you move it up. So where we've just done it, right up at the top there, that's your F. But if you move that 2 frets along, you've got another G version. Okay, so that's like a closed G. So rather than all the strings being open, all of a sudden all the strings are being fretted, and that can be really useful, especially if you're going at speed between the G and the F, or the G and the A, or the G and the C even, because there's a C version you can do with this. So sometimes that closed shape is really nice, and to give it a bit more of a bluegrassy sound, I'll show you kind of a nice hammer-on that works. So you've got your F there, you move it up 2 for the G, obviously another 2, then gives you an A, and then you can bring that shape right up the neck for a C there, and 2 more give you a D up there. So if you want to go really high, which obviously does sound more bluegrassy because that's often up the neck, you know, that shape really travels nicely all the way down, and you can make all different chords with it. So if you're making that F, in Little Maggie you can slide between the closed G and the closed F, so you're just moving the 2 frets along, okay? And to get that kind of bluegrassy sound, obviously we've been having a go at hammer-ons when we've been playing our G, C and D, nice, easy, simple chords. So hopefully, you know, you're familiar with the hammer-ons, you've got used to them. So when you're in an F shape, there's a really nice hammer-on with that middle finger. So on that third string, 2nd fret, I'm not doing anything with that hand. I'm just kind of bashing that third string down with my middle finger, okay, making a hammer-on. So that's kind of like, would you call it a phantom hammer-on, I guess? I don't know. Because I'm not actually striking the string, I'm just coming out of nowhere and just... But it's still making a decent sound. It's not going to sound as strong as if you've struck a string and then hammered on, because obviously the string's not ringing, but it still makes, you know, a decent sound. And that means that you don't have to strike that same string that you're hammering on. You can strike the 1st or the 2nd, and if you alternate between those, so do your back to your basic Frailing strum, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. So that's all this hand's going to do, just its usual strike, strum, thumb. Okay, but in between those strikes, I'm going to hammer on with that middle finger. Now this might feel a bit weird because it's not the string you're hitting, and just your brain-hand coordination might find that a little bit odd at first, but you'll get used to it. So I'm going to strike the 1st string, I'm going to hammer with my middle finger on the 3rd, then my strum thumb, then I'm going to strike the 2nd, hammer on again with my middle finger, strum thumb, okay? So when it speeds up, you get that nice little sound in between your strikes. So that's really nice, and obviously then if you move it up to your G, I don't know why my head has to do that, I've just noticed in the video that I'm like bobbing along like a pigeon to it, but oh dear. So F and G with that little hammer on, it gives it a really bluegrassy sound. Can you hear the difference between that and, you know, a bit more of the old-timey stuff like played Little John in one of the last tutorials? So, Lazy John even, not Little John. So this is a slightly different sound that you can make, and certainly for something like Little Maggie, that's really cool because it is a bit, you know, it's known for its kind of bluegrassy sound, really, that tune. So you could play it, could do like a couple of slides on the G, and then you're going to grab that F, Maggie with a, and then I would slide up to the G rather than leaving the strings open, because you're already in that shape. Slide it up to the G, do another couple up there, and then you've got a quick D, and then back to the G. I might just leave my little finger doing a little quirky slide there up to the 5th fret, and then leave the rest open. So you'd got something like yonder stands Little Maggie with a dry glass in her hand. And you know, you can put like little slides in when you can do anything when you're in the G, because you know, you can leave it open and put slides in. That's a nice one to put in between. And all that is like a hammer on the 2nd fret with your 1st string, and then sliding it up to the 5th. And so that can be a nice little fill-in. Sounds really cool, doesn't it? So that's a good use of the F. I mean, obviously I'm going really fast there, but just, you know, just slow it right down. Yeah, so it's just strike, and then that one is doing a hammer on in between. So again, this hand is not doing anything different. It's literally doing the strike, strum, thumb, strike, strum, thumb. It's just that we're now putting this like sort of phantom hammer on in between. So it might take a little bit of time just to get your head round, but yeah, that's a cool use of the F chord. And like I say, you can bring it right up. You might sometimes use your C and your D and your G. So all the songs that we've already gone through in these tutorials that use those 3 basic chords, you could do a practice like literally. That's just G, C and D, you know, but you're using that shape and it's giving you a closed chord that you can do those like little hammer-ons. It sounds really cool, and the thing is, when you do something like that, it will look really impressive to people, but you know that actually it's quite easy. When I say easy, it's not at first. It takes, like I say, a bit of brain hand like training to do it, but once you've got it, it's actually fairly straightforward, and it sounds like you're putting in so many notes, but you're not. It's just that this hand's going quite fast, but it's still just doing it strike, strum, thumb, just really fast, and you're putting an extra hammer on, and all of a sudden it sounds like you're going really, really fast and putting in loads of notes and stuff. So it's a nice one. In terms of the cheat, you can do an F chord rather than bringing your ring finger across to the bass string. You can rest your ring finger instead of your little one on that first string, so that would look like that. But obviously what that means is you've then got an open D at the top, so you don't want to play that string. If you're going for the cheat shape, you can only really play the 3 strings that you're fretting, okay? You don't want to be putting that D into the mix. I mean, it kind of makes a nice sounding chord, but it's not an F because you've got a D in there. So you could still do that middle finger hammer on because that's on the same string. So you can still do you can still do that, but just try not to catch that D string going for the cheat. The cheat can be useful going sometimes, because if you go, so let's say you're playing a G, you're likely going to be playing F and G chords with it, and if you're going from a C to an F, you've got your C, and then you'd move your fingers round to do that full 4-finger F shape. But if you're playing at speed, it can be sometimes hard to bring that ring finger all the way across. So sometimes you might decide to just do the cheat shape, because then, can you see that movement? It's really subtle then. You're going from your C, and then you're just having to do that to make it an F. So it's much faster to grab. So for example, getting you to look up my stuff, I have a song called Sold My Soul for a Dime. Look it up. Buy it if you want to on iTunes, that'd be amazing. But Sold My Soul for a Dime is in C, and so it goes from the C to the F, and I do a little riff kind of sold my soul for a dime, Lord, and it goes to the F, sold my soul for a dime. And I would use the cheat shape F in that, because I'm kind of doing a few hammer-ons, and it kind of works to do the cheat one on that. You know, I'd use the cheat shape. You can bring your thumb over the top and kind of mute that D string in case you catch it. I don't mean press it down, because then you're going to form a note, but if you're just resting slightly on it, you're going to kind of mute it. So you can do that to be on the safe side if you really want. But most of the time, you know, try and do your full F. I'm just giving you options that it might be easier to sort of jump from the C into that cheat shape. And the same with other chords as you go up the neck, other shapes. So the D shape, that can also move up. So you've got another F kind of up from the 5th fret. So if you were technically doing a full D shape, which now we've moved it up the neck, we should be using all 4 fingers. I find this really hard. I never use it. But you've got your kind of D shape, as in that diagonal line of your 3rd string, 2nd string and 1st string, each on a different fret, and then you're bringing that ring finger across to your bass string. It's really, really hard to do. So I leave out the bass string, put my ring finger there. So just like if you were doing your 3-fingered D in the normal place, you're now moving it up, okay? So you're kind of starting on the 5th fret, 6th, and ending on the 7th. And that gives you, again, don't play the D string, but if you just play the 3 strings that you're fretting, it gives you a sort of slightly weird high F. So again, in Little Maggie, because it's fast, if I wanted to vary the F, I might play that one, but I'd probably play the cheating version. So that might be Little Maggie. I probably wouldn't sing with it, actually. I'd probably do it more as an in-between, like, instrumental. Drinking away her sorrows now, caught in another man. You know, so like it's just a little higher kind of cool F to put in. Also remember your other shapes, your bar chords, because that's a shape as well. We literally just play the strings with your bar chord and it's going to move up each time. So that's going to be an A, that's going to be a C, a D. So you have also got an F there, okay, up on the, is that the 10th? The 10th fret. So you got an F there. You know, so if you wanted to get really fancy when you're doing your solo bit in Little Maggie, you could do a G, which is up on the 12th, down to the F. So you could do a little solo on bar chords. G, F, G, D, back to your G there. Got to get your fingers working for that. So there you go, you can have a little play around with Little Maggie. I didn't particularly want to focus on Little Maggie, but just the F chord, and that tune works well for that. So yeah, just practice that F chord, because you can then put that shape into a lot of things. You can use the G, you know, 2 frets up. So you might want to sometimes put that version of a G into a song or a tune. And an A, of course, there as well. I think June Apple, I don't know how to play June Apple as kind of melody, but I've backed it up when a fiddle player plays it, and it's like A and G, I think. So you could use... And I'm just doing that same thing that I was doing up there, just that middle finger hammer on, but it, you know, it sounds pretty cool if you're just doing that kind of along with a tune. So yeah, use that, and like I say, sometimes you might even come up and use it up here, the C and the D. I use it in one of my songs is all a C shape and a G. That's all the song does. And I sometimes, on one of the solos, I'll come up and I'll do the sort of the cheating shape up there. So I'll just use the 3-fingered F shape, and I'll do the C there, so I'll like go... Okay, again, I know that was fast, but that is literally doing that cheating shape F, so just using 3 fingers instead of 4, and that middle finger hammer on while I hit the 2nd and 1st strings, just alternating. So I've moved it just from the C to the G, back up to the C. You know, you can just move it up and down. That gives you quite a bit to think about and to play with, hopefully. So yeah, see how you get on with that. See you next time.